Hey guys, how's it going? More Fatty here, and I'm gonna play my league versus league drives here, expecting to pull a 24. Um, Very briefly, this is my play call script that I've built. I use this. I try and stick to this, for the first two series of every match that I play against every opponent. Helps me, get my more important plays in there and test them so that when I get into any third and or fourth and long situations, I know I have plays that I can use to fall back on. So real quick, before I get into these drives, the first play of the match from the left hash midfield, I'm going to call post corners, and you can see that right here. And then my first play is from the right hash, it's going to be spread slot flags. These are obviously my two most important plays that I think I need to test for in case I have situations on fourth and long where I need a play. And then, you can kind of see situationally the first series, kind of what kind of plays I plan on calling if I get in those situations. And then as well as the second series, depending on what plays I've called and what plays I've used. And then, by the time I get around to any potential fourth down on the second series or later, I should have a tested play that I know I can call that is encountered. So yeah, and then I also have here just like a bunch of other plays that after I use the plays that I need for my first two series, I'll be using any of these plays down below. And I tried to put them in order of importance, in my opinion, for how I like to use them. So, and then I also have here, the counter formations and counter plays, play type, as well as whether or not I flip it. Some plays I always use flipped, weak eye double counter. Halfback angle I like better flipped. Strong eye play action slide is an amazing play flipped. And then bunch flanker drive, usually like to use that flipped, as well as fullback flare. So yeah, I mean, just looking real quick at my plan, and then we're going to get in here and play the drives. And a nice little cupcake I get to play. Let's see. We are playing a cupcake today. Some of these guys even have defenses in the 70s, which is interesting. Not a single defense in the 90s, it looks like. Alright, so it looks like I'm going to be playing this guy. Now I'm going to look at the film real quick, see his tendencies. So he does like to pass a lot, doesn't really run much, and so I should watch out for these top three plays potentially being countered. Scout him real quick. I just usually like to look at their safeties and their linebackers for coverage purposes. So very slow middle linebacker, very slow safety, very slow free safety, bad coverage stats. Cornerback one's not that great either. All right, so it looks like I'm going to be calling my first play of the series from the left hash, or actually midfield. So for midfield, I'm going to call a little bit closer to the left hash. My first play I'm going to test for is post corners. Immediately we know he doesn't have that counter because he's lining up in a 3-4 pre-snap. Counter formation for post corners is a nickel. It's also probably going to be a zone. So the way I use post corners is if it's zone coverage, I can zip it into Moss on the seam route there in the slot. And if it's man coverage, Gronk on that post route's usually wide open. Also need to note that the linebackers, just because they're pressed up in the line of scrimmage, doesn't necessarily mean they're going to blitz. It always looks like they're going to, so it makes it a little, nuance there in reading the coverage. So the first thing I'm going to do here is read that's the middle linebacker 2 that slid out there on Moss. So MLB 2, which is this guy, Ben Heaney, I'm going to be reading him to see if this is man or zone. And if he turns his hips, it's man. If he just backpedals, it's zone. So yeah, and then I'm also going to try and manipulate the pass coverage. I need to also look at the pass rush. I mean, sorry, not the pass coverage, the pass rush. I need to manipulate that as well. So I'm going to try and slide to the right a little bit just because I want to throw a little bit from the right side. So I'm going to go ahead and snap the ball. Let's see what we have here. So all right, so it's man coverage, so Gronk's wide open, and he drops it. So that is kind of the frustrating thing this year is slant routes, out routes, and even sometimes angle routes. If you get that animation where your wide receiver turns and tries to catch it on his back hip, your wide receiver, or just pass catcher, receiver, tight end, halfback, where you get that animation that I just got where they reach back to catch it on their back hip, it's probably being dropped at least half the time this year. So, that's a little nuance in the game this year that makes it a little bit harder. So, obviously the game is a little bit more challenging this year when you throw in the fact that you're getting a lot more drop passes. So, second down here, I'm going to go to my script real quick. Second down from the left hash. Yeah, I'm going to use halfback option here. So we also know this isn't countered because the counter formation for halfback option is a nickel. You see the right outside linebacker slides out on Moss. So my read here that I'm going to be making is if it's zone, I'm going to throw it to one of the seam routes, either Moss or Gronk. Likely going to throw it to Gronk if it's zone. And then if it's man, Falk should be wide open because the middle linebacker shouldn't be able to cover him. So, and it's a zone coverage, so I'm going to rip it up to Gronk over there. He makes the catch, and it should be an easy touchdown. Okay, so we know now that he doesn't have halfback option or post corners countered. So we got 2 plays in our back pockets here for the next drive. All right, I'm actually going to run across and try and call my first play from the right hash because my favorite play in the game right now is spread slot flags. What I've been noticing lately is the flag routes. For some reason, when I throw them to the left side of the field, I have more success. So as long as this is zone covered, I should be able to hit Moss on that flag route, in between the linebacker's zone and the safety zone. And if it's man, then I'm going to be going to Adams here on that little out route. So it's zone coverage, and I'm able to get it over the top to Moss. He makes the catch. I probably should have tried to throw that to Adams, but you can usually get it over the top as long as it's zone. All right, so, I know 3 good plays now that he doesn't have countered. I'm actually going to go with, let's see here. Probably want to open up a couple more plays and make sure that he doesn't have them countered. So I'm going to go ahead and call halfback angle flipped. Yeah, so he doesn't have that countered. Now, I actually just did a very detailed film review of this play. And it looks like when you flip it, the defense goes bonkers because we can see pre-snap, the Patriots are in a 4-3. They never play a 4-3. So there's that. And I just need to read the coverage if it's man. So if it's man coverage, normally I can throw it to Adams on that out route, but there's not a lot of space over there, so I'm probably not going to do that unless he's wide open. Moss might be able to burn his man because that is a linebacker out there in coverage, Ogletree, and he's very slow. He shouldn't be able to cover Moss. So if it's man, I should be able to go to Moss no matter what. So I'm really going to read this play here. I'm going to read Moss and Falk and the coverage. And if it's man, I'm going to see if Moss can burn him. And if it's zone, if it's zone, I'm going to Moss. If it's man, I'm going to see if Moss can burn him. If the coverage is too good, I'll dump it down to Fok. So Moss is open there. Breaks the tackle. All right. Oof, man. I didn't see that guy coming. I could have got a touchdown there if I didn't mess around a little bit. But all right, so I'm going to go with bunch halfback dive. See, bunch halfback dive inside the 10. It was like this last year too. The defense a lot of time lines up in a dime coverage. And it's just very favorable to run on. Oh, man. That's frustrating. So I probably should have ran to the pylon there. It's frustrating on the two-pointer when the fullback makes a kick-out block and it gets in your way. I should have just ran to the pylon. And actually, that angle should have been a touchdown. Moss should have got in there, but whatever. All right, so we know we have a bunch of plays now in our back pocket. We have angle, we have halfback option, we have post corners, and we have spread slot flags that we know all aren't countered. All right, so I'm going to try and throw a flag route to Moss here. They definitely changed something with the AI from, the first month on, because in the beginning of the year, Bunch C spot was like almost always zone coverage, so it was just automatic to get it to Moss. But the defense is now playing a lot more man coverage, so let's see if they're playing man here. They line up in a 4-3. This actually looks like it's going to be a zone coverage. And interesting to note that they are lining up in a 4-3 when obviously they're a 3-4 defense. So if it's man, Crabtree is usually open. If it's zone, I can get it to the flag route with Moss. And it looks like their middle linebacker is going to blitz here. He drops into coverage. So it's actually like a deep zone. So Crabtree is going to be open. And let's see here. What do I want to call? I want to call halfback angle flipped again just because I want to practice that play more. Because the defense gives you really funky looks. So yeah, I'm either throwing to Moss or Fok here, depending if it's man or zone. It's a deep zone, so I'm just going to throw it to Crabtree, actually. And that's the other good thing about the play. You get a good read. If it's a deep zone, you can dump it down to Crabtree because that's always wide open. And, if it's a regular zone, you can get it to Moss. And then also you have the halfback. And I actually didn't even look to the seam route on Gronk, but that's another route that's very, very solid. And with the zone that they were playing, I probably should look to the left of the field more because the last video I did, I realized that I should have looked to the left of the field more, and I still am looking to the right probably too much. I should at least give the left side of the field a look because what I found last time is when I flipped that play, a lot of the time Gronk is going to be wide open. So it'll be interesting to go back and watch that and see if he was open or not. But all that being said, I'm going to call smash here. He probably has this countered. So the nickel is the counter formation for this. And if I'm locked up, I know it's countered. If it's countered, I'm just going to... So if it's countered, I should actually be able to get it to Adams. Because of the coverage on the counter, it's a deep zone. So I'm just going to throw it to Adams if it's countered. It is countered. And I was able to get it to him. I didn't want to waste a scramble there if I didn't have to. Okay, so he does have a hard counter for that. Let's see. I could go with double hitch. I could go with spot. Could go with trip strong flood. I could go with post corners or halfback option. Let's go with post corners here. I'm going to read the coverage. If it's man, it's going to Gronk. If it's zone, it's going to Moss on the seam route. And it's man, so you have Moss up there, and he drops it. Usually that's an easy face catch, but for some reason it wasn't that time. So now I'm going to use halfback option here. And this is actually the counter formation for halfback option, so that's going to be frustrating if this is countered. Let's see what the play is for the counter on that. Nine Velcro. I'm not sure if that's a blitz or not, but we know the nickel formation is the counter for this play. So if it's countered, I'm just gonna roll to the right and scramble. It's not countered. Fox gonna be wide open. Catch it, please. Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to kind of slip with the joystick there. Not always easy to get the control of the joystick. So yeah, I'm going to go with spread slot flags. So actually dime is the counter formation for spread slot flags too. Yeah, 2-man under, so this might be countered. And if it is countered, I'm either going to throw it to Adams or I'm just going to scramble. Adams is open. It was soft countered. All right, so we're close to the 10-yard line here. Right at the 10-yard line. Trying to think. I could try bunch halfback dive. I'm going to call halfback dive weak. And the counter formation for halfback dive weak is 3-4, so. But it doesn't look like it's countered here. All right, so now we're inside the 10. And second and goal, I'm going to go ahead and call a bunch halfback dive now that we're inside the 10. So this is ideal. They line up in a dime coverage. You see cornerback 3 is actually sliding into the middle with the middle linebacker, but I should be able to get blocks on both those guys and just run it in, hopefully. So that wasn't able really to run it in there. It's unfortunate. Fullback flare flipped on the goal line is pretty amazing, so we're going to go with that. Usually the fullback's wide open. Let's see. So fullback is wide open. Gurley catches it for a touchdown. All right. Credit to CHF's channel on that as well. Watch this channel. Fullback flare flipped on the goal line is almost always wide open. So able to get a 22 there. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you have any feedback on any plays that I could have improved or anything that you think I may have missed, please do let me know.